let's move on to our next caller. They are using a pseudonym, Philo-Sophistry. I absolutely love that. You are live. How's it going?
Awesome. I'm doing well. How's your day going today?
Doing well. I'm just trying my best. It says that you want to talk about the Atheist Atrocities fallacy, which is kind of exactly what I was talking to the last caller about. Do you want to kind of tee us up?
Yeah, so I guess, I talk to a lot of Christians through multiple platforms online, and also people of other religions. And one of the things that they bring up often is, they'll say things like, oh, well, you atheists, you've killed the most. Your worldview isn't tenable because of Hitler, because of Mao, because of Stalin, because of Pol Pot, because of, any other name that they can think of to throw in there. And, I got to push back against that when I hear it pretty much every single time, because, there's, if you actually zoom in, if you are a student of history and you look at all the details, it's like Germany at the time was like a 89 to 90 something percent, Christian nation. And one of the first things that Hitler did was ban membership in free thought in the free thought communities. I mean, he did that even before I think the signing the Reich Concordat with the Catholic Church. So it's always just really interesting to me, and I kind of wanted to get your take. Like, am I off base in pushing back against some of this stuff? Because none of it was done in the name of atheism, but if we actually look back at the atrocities, there's like the Pope Nicholas, the edict that he did saying that you may enslave non-Christians.
Oh.
Or if you go back all the way back to like the 4th century, when Constantine said that, yeah, it's really cool for Christians to, destroy the pagan temples, to kill the worshippers of idols and stuff like that. So pretty much ever since Christianity's formation, it's been like a bloodbath, right?
Oh, it's even worse. It's even worse because it's been around since before Christianity. It was around in Torah. It was in the Old Testament. I believe it was, I think it was Genesis or Exodus, where it says, "Take your slaves from the peoples around you." Right? You have in the conquest of Canaan, they were commanded to absolutely eradicate, and I mean we're talking like genocide.
Sure.
The Amalekites, huge, groups, swaths of Canaanites, and all of that was done. Yeah, no. So, if we want to get into like the nitty gritty of it, I think it's good to stand up against that. I remember one of the worst debates I'd ever been in. You could probably still find it online. I was invited to a 2v2, 2-on-2 debate. It was in Nashville, Tennessee. I remember they paid me nothing. It cost me like over $1,000 just to get there and get a hotel. And the moderator wound up turning it into his own podcast. So it was just really cringy. But the person, one of the people that I was debating against, they said that, oh, well, atheists, being an atheist means that you need to be okay with, genocide and all of that stuff, because what's to stop you, right? There's no objective morality. And
Right.
I think that pointing things out like, oh, why, what makes something objective? The old line of argument there is, are you good because God tells you to be? And if that's the case, are you good at all, or are you just being a good follower? And the other side of that is, if you see that God is good because of the good things that are becoming evident, then is God good, or are you are you giving God that quality of goodness versus that God having goodness? intrinsically. And so
Sure.
it as a thought experiment for non-believers, just navel gazing, I think it's really like cool to bring up, and especially when you're talking to believers who are willing to listen, it's important to kind of bring those things up. But ultimately, recently, I'm sorry, I'm scattered all over the place because there are so many different places I want to jump in. I'll say recently,
Oh yeah, me too. Because
yeah,
ADHD, I'm all over the place.
same
My
here,
brain's
same
like
here. Okay. So you understand me. Okay. One second. I'm gonna drink some water.
Yeah.
Okay. So recently, I was interacting with, an internet Christian apologist who's just a pain in the ass, and the line of reasoning that they were giving was, oh, if you believe in evolution, then you believe in survival of the fittest. And to be consistent, you must also, be against adoption and taking care of the sick because they're a drain on society. And, also if you don't believe in a God and you believe in evolution, then you have to be against charity or helping the elderly because they're all a drain. And, and just kind of creating those awful comparisons. And ultimately, evolution, right? The theory of evolution is not social Darwinism, right?
Right. I would agree
Darwinian,
with that.
well, yeah, absolutely. Darwinian evolution has to do with outside factors influencing successive generations and being able to survive the best that they can, and that eventually leading to speciation. That is a conversation about describing what you're seeing, right?
Hmm.
Social Darwinism is people trying to take that and make it an ought, and go, we ought to have survival of the fittest. And that's really kind of what informed Hitler and those people when it came to thoughts of genocide, is kind of developing that Ubermensch mentality, and the fittest and the strongest have deserved to survive the most. And
Sure.
recognizing that that's not evolution, that's social Darwinism, pointing that out is important.
Hmm.
Let's see, what else? Narcissism is a thing. You're not talking about evolution or atheism. You're talking about narcissism. Oh, you can do whatever you want. You can be cruel to people. Not everyone wants to be cruel. And if you're
Hmm.
assuming that, that's a really, really
Right.
weird narcissism that you're placing on everybody else. But you are discussing narcissism and not the topic that you think you're discussing. Or you could be discussing, I had a whole list that I was working on recently. But just every step along the way, recognizing those things for what they are,
Sure.
and pointing them out, defining them is better. But if you want a fallacy at the heart of it,
Hmm.
what you can point out is it is the appeal to consequences. I believe the
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 appeal to consequences.
the appeal to consequences, the ad consequentium. I forget how to pronounce it. But essentially, if they are trying to, like, even if you grant the consequences that they're trying to provide, which are terrible, right? Even if you were to give them the best version of their argument that you can, what it is it's an appeal to consequences. So essentially, this thing is bad. I don't like it. Therefore, it's not true. So point that out. Say, okay, well, you want to talk about,
Gotcha.
if you want to talk about Holocaust and genocide, let's talk about it. So it was terrible, right? You don't like that. It was bad. So therefore, it never happened,
Right.
right? And
Yep. So,
they'll shut up real quick because they're not. Most people are not Holocaust deniers.
sure.
But yeah, at the heart of that argument is the I don't like it, therefore it's not true, and pointing that out has helped me.
Sure. If we go back to when you had mentioned the objective morality, that they feel like they have some sort of objective morality. One of the things that I often like to point out is that just because your book doesn't change doesn't mean that the ways that you interpret it don't change. And so if it's subject to interpretation, then your morality is no longer objective. And by definition, it's subjective now. So like way back, who was it? Giordano Bruno, who was burned at the stake for teaching a bunch of things that now we just accept as commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time when he was burned at the stake, it was because they went against church teachings. It's like, well, but you wouldn't do that to somebody now, but you would do it then because he was going against the church's teachings. Therefore, you do not have objective morality. Your morality has changed between then, when that was okay, and now, where you wouldn't do that at all.
You're absolutely right.
So,
yeah, from God, from the apostles to the first members of the Christian church to the councils of Trent and Nicaea to Thomas Aquinas, all the way through to Ratzinger and Martin Luther King, right? Each of them, they think that they pray to the same God, but the God that they believed in was one that closely aligned to the principles and moral viewpoints that they did. Their God changed with them because that is what ultimately they're doing, is they're creating their God, and it is constantly being adjusted. And while that is to me true, it's not going to get you anywhere in conversation with Christians. Unfortunately, I've tried it, but I do want to affirm to you that no, you're right. You are.
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But thank you for calling in. And it's such a distasteful argument. Ultimately, you can also view it technically as a straw man argument, right? They don't want to talk about what you are talking about. Instead, they're going to create something that they can easily tear down and attack that instead.
Right.
So that's a straw man. And yeah, we can go on, but I hope to hear from you again. This was a good topic.
Yeah. Have a great Sunday.
You too. Bye.
Bye.